How do you protect a book? One way is with a slipcase. In this video, I'll demonstrate how I make the box part of a slipcase. In follow-up videos, I'll show how to cover it in different ways. If you're new to box making, I highly recommend you watch my video on the different options for making trays. Or you just keep watching this video to see my preferred method for making a slipcase. But there are many variations of how to make a slipcase. A slipcase is a three-sided tray with a lid. In my tray video, I look at the different ways to make trays, which all can be used to make slipcases, including my favourite approach. If you want to know the answer to the question why, that is the video for you. Maybe the trickiest part of making a slipcase is measuring the book and deciding on the dimensions to use. We need 3 dimensions for the book: the height, the width, and the thickness. Books are never a perfect rectangular box, so it's important to take measurements at different places to find out how much it varies from the perfect shape. I base my calculations on the maximum measurements. The thickness can be trickier because the book might compress or yawn open without the pressure of other books next to it on the shelf. I measure the thickness with light pressure on the foredge of the boards. Now we need to decide how much extra to add for the thickness of covering materials and for fit. You don't want a loose fit, and you don't want it so tight that you have to pull the book out, which is bad for the book. Some slipcases have notches which seem to encourage you to yank the book out. Arthur Johnson is scathing of thumb notches. He says, "Thumb holes cut in the sides of the case are unsatisfactory. There is difficulty in covering them, and unsightly marks will appear on the binding at the cutouts. It's unnecessary to rely on these to remove the book. If the case is properly made, when it's turned over, the book will slide out by its own weight. If the fit is too loose, line the inside with more paper." Well, that's Arthur Johnson's version of scathing. I usually add 1mm in all dimensions for the covering material. Book cloth is about 0.3 to 0.4mm thick, and paper is about 0.1mm thick. 2 layers of each is about 1mm. For fit, I usually add 1mm for thickness and width and 2mm for height. My slipcases are usually a snug fit, and I usually have to shake them a little bit to get the book to slide out by its own weight. You might want to add another 1mm, and as Johnson says, you can always tighten up a loose slipcase. For width, I measure from the outside of the foredge of the boards to the very outside of the spine. I don't want any of the spine hanging out of the slipcase. In my first videos on slipcases, I put a curve in their head and tail walls so they match the round of the spine. We're going to keep it simple today. The way I'm going to build the slipcase is to have the walls butt up against the sides. This means the sides need to be the height and width dimensions we just measured and adjusted. I'll cut 2 pieces of 2.4mm binder's board to these dimensions. I'll cut the board in my usual fashion, except I couldn't be bothered using the square, so I mark the boards at each end to cut to size. By marking with a knife, I can get these dimensions very accurate. For an average size book, I find the 2.4mm binder's board or grey board to be perfect. It's thick and rigid enough. Any acid-free, reasonably dense board between 2 and 3mm will work fine. Davey red mill board in this range is perfect. For some reason, I decided to line the sideboards at this point. I had a good reason for doing it, but I forgot to use this cunning plan later. If I remember, I'll point out my oversight when I should have used the lined boards. But the important point is that the opening of the slipcase is too narrow to line the inside after it's made, so the boards need to be lined before making the box. Some of you will be confused because I'm gluing out the board, not the paper. I've pointed out in other videos that the rule of thumb is to apply the adhesive to the thinner material to avoid wrinkles forming. But in this case, I want to minimize the warping of the boards, as I don't want to have to line the other side with paper too. Luckily, the lining paper I'm using is fairly heavy, and I'll use some thick PVA, which is just PVA where water is evaporated from it and it's gone a bit thick. And I'll give it a good press after laminating. From experience, I know that with this paper, this glue, and working quickly, I'll get flat boards with no wrinkles. Next, I cut the pieces for the walls. I haven't talked about grain direction yet. For the sides, it's best if the grain goes in the long direction, just like the boards on a book. The sides should be long grain. The walls should also be long grain. The reason being that if the boards do expand and contract due to humidity changes, with long grain walls, the tray just goes up and down a tiny bit. But if the grain was the other way, the expansion would push the walls out and it might weaken the box. The grain of the lining material should match the board grain direction. The width of the walls is the thickness of the book plus the allowance plus the thickness of the sides, 2 side thicknesses. This is one reason I lined the sides earlier. Now I have the thickness with the lining materials. I can measure it with the dial thickness gauge and it's almost exactly 5mm. Plus the 36mm from earlier gives 41mm. I'll cut 3 pieces of board to this width. The lengths I take straight from the sides. I cut the head and tail wall pieces to the same width as the side pieces. The long back wall is the height of the side piece plus 2 board thicknesses. I normally do a juggling trick here. I put the knife in the grey board the length of the side and then I use the 2 sides to add the extra distance. This way the lining paper thickness is added. But I forgot. This was the mistake I made. Now I line the wall pieces with the same paper I used to line the sides. The secret sauce to the method I use for slipcases is adding the oversized piece of 10 point or 300 GSM card to the sides. This makes making the slipcase so much easier. The main thing to check is that the card grain direction matches the board. Once the adhesive has had enough time to set up, maybe 10 minutes, I assemble one side of the slipcase. I put on each end and then the back. Again, I give it 10 minutes and I can trim the excess card. To complete gluing the slipcase together, I put glue on the edges of the walls and apply the remaining side. I tested the fit before I put the PVA on the walls. Of course it fit perfectly. A bit of lightweight over the walls and leave it for 10 minutes for the glue to set. Trim the excess card and check inside, and if there's no excess glue squeezed out along the edges, you can try putting the book into the case to see if it fits. If there is glue squeezed out, use a micro spatula or a bamboo skewer to carefully get rid of it. I normally stop here, but I want to show you some optional steps to make the case super strong and smooth. I'll go around and laminate card to the outside of the walls. Not only does this make the case stronger, it gets rid of any bumps and makes the outside of the case a uniform colour, just in case the covering material isn't completely opaque. And that's the body of the slipcase done. In the next video I'll cover it. If you have any questions about slipcases, throw them in the comments. I'll try and answer the questions in a future video. As always, I really appreciate you hitting the big thumbs up button. If you're able and want to, you can support the making of more videos like this through Patreon or with a one-off contribution, and the details are in the description below. If you want to be notified of my future videos, please hit the subscribe button. Until next time, cheerio.